following thoughts, opinions, stories, and expressions are meant for those who will appreciate them. If you don't, we hope you keep an open soul to encounter another here on 34 Questions. Peace. 3, 2, 1. What's going on, folks? Welcome to 34 Questions. I'm your host, 34, and this evening I have a very special guest. Your pal Austin is in the building. How you doing tonight, Austin?
I'm so good. I'm so excited to be here.
For sure, man. That's what I like to hear, and I want to thank you again for making time and being open to share your story. I know it's not easy for everybody, so I definitely appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
For sure. And for the folks out there who are unfamiliar with the flow of the show, we do some intro questions, some warm-up questions just to set the tone. And then afterwards, we'll jump into the Wheel of Fate. And then after that, we'll finish it off with some closeout questions. How's that sound to you, Austin?
Sounds amazing.
All right, for sure, man. Well, my very first question for you is, how have you been? Like, honestly, you've been doing well. You've been doing great. How you been, man?
I've been all right, I feel like I'm closing out the year okay. I wanted to close out the year well with work, and I think it's closing out okay. December's tough for me. I think for a lot of people, it's tough. And I'm in Utah right now, and the reason I like living in Southern California is I love having like a 60-degree winter. I love that. And I'm out here, it's about to, there's a blizzard coming, which means tomorrow I'm gonna have to drive in the snow. And I grew up here, and I don't like doing the black ice on the road, and but other than that, I'm good. Yeah. For
sure, man. For sure. I know you said December can be tough for folks. It is horrible for me, man. I have all these goals, especially I'm not gonna lie to you, even my fitness goals and whatnot. But November, December, I pretty much just tell myself, fuck it. I'll start fresh in January. It'll be fine. It's not the end of the world if I don't, count my calories today. But yeah, now I hear you.
Yeah, since we set this arbitrary line of 12 months is a year, and that's when it's a complete cycle. Everything's arbitrary. Obviously, it's based around seasons, and it's pretty accurate. But it still feels like sometimes you're limping toward the finish line of something, and you're like, I just need to get over the finish line, and then it's fresh in January. It's fresh, and I got a fresh set of downs here. But it's it's all the same stuff, but it's mentally, Yeah.
Do you think the concept of time can be reworked? Or because I feel like the reason why I feel this way, or I go with the seasons, is because from the day we're born, this is what we're told, fall, spring, summer, winter, and we're in this routine that was kind of built for us. Do you think maybe one day we could kind of be well, let's not count it, let's not, or switch it up? What do you think of that?
I definitely think we can and should get rid of daylight savings time. I definitely am whatever. What the hell is that? What are we like? It's it changes, and then what happens? It changes back. Okay, so it doesn't actually change. No, it changes for a little bit, and then you change it back. Yeah, we just change it back to where it was. What are we doing?
No, I got you. I'm one of those people who I haven't changed my clocks yet, man. So a lot of people get annoyed with me. They get that anxiety of damn, man, it's really an hour before. I don't care. It's something that I can tell myself that, it's not 8, it's 7 o'clock. But, a lot of folks can get bothered by it sometimes. You mentioned work. So I only know you through your work on social. Is that work for you, or is that, just your side thing?
That's my work. This year, 2021, was my first full year of full-time content creation and all that stuff. And for my first full year, it didn't go terribly. It went okay. So there was kind of an exciting year. I've never attempted something like this, to kind of go into business for myself and be sort of completely beholden to myself of I'm gonna do as well as I can. Whatever I can put into this is how well I'm gonna do, and it went okay. I mean, I was working at a restaurant in LA before this year, and then the pandemic hit and I went on furlough. So a lot of 2020 I was on unemployment, and that's when I started ramping up my content creation more, because I was just sitting at home doing nothing. And by 2021, I just quit the restaurant altogether, and I made like over twice what I made in a year at the restaurant this year. So I'm like, it's not bad. So, yeah.
Definitely one of my heroes, man. I'm trying to get to that point where this thing can like sustain me, but still doing the balancing act of a day job and side hustle. But that's great, man. Definitely happy for you. I hope 2022 just continues that ride. Want to ask, where do you see this like going for you? Are you happy with just making content, or do you want it to become bigger?
Well, the whole idea, I mean, I started, I have a podcast called People Pleaser with Austin Archer, and I started the podcast before anything even happened on social media. I had like 1,200 followers on Instagram, and now they were all my friends and family and people that I'd like done plays with and stuff. And then I started this podcast, and I had like 300 followers for the podcast and like 50 weekly downloads. And I just was like doing it for nobody. And then I had a hit on TikTok, like a lot of people have had, because that TikTok is just designed to make people go viral. And I saw this avenue of being like, oh, I can really, if I can put a lot of energy into this, I can really use this to market myself as an artist. Because my ultimate goal of being in LA is like, I want to be able to do work on my own terms. I want to make a movie. I want to tell my own stories. I want to like make the kind of art that I want to make. I'm a musician. I want to make my own music videos and stuff. And so like, I do all that stuff, but it's just getting an audience for it that's hard. And so I've always seen social media as an avenue to like being more of a showcase of what I can bring to the table for bigger show business projects.
I got you.
And I would hope that I'm not still doing just internet content in 5 years. And that's not to disparage new media or internet content. I think that there's a lot of people who sort of look down their nose at new media and internet content creators, and they sort of look at it as this sort of lesser medium. And I just don't, God, YouTube's been around for over 15 years, and people have been making a good living on YouTube for that whole time. And I think it's about time that the entertainment industry at large stops with this whole game of sort of like condescending to internet creators. And like, I just saw this SNL skit this last week where like the skit was someone scrolling through their TikTok feed, and they were just doing like a bunch of condescending examples of TikToks. And it was sort of just like one of those skits like when they did Gen Z Hospital, where it's just super out of touch, and you're just sort of like, you're like, guys, what are you butthurt about? That like people are watching TikTok more than they're watching your shitty show? Like, and the thing is like the tropes that they're showing in that skit exist. And I scroll through my TikTok feed every day and I see bad content. Of course, bad content exists, and like cheesy content. And I see people who are vapid and self-obsessed and all of that stuff. But like, that's not why I'm on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok to consume content and of vapid people and bad content. I'm on there because there's some really good stuff on there. There's people who have a really clear voice, who have a really clear perspective. There's people who are like making genuinely good cinema on TikTok, where like it's well edited, it's well written, it's well acted, and it's 3 minutes, but it's good. And I see people on there where I'm like, if someone saw this and gave you the reins to a Hollywood movie, you'd probably knock it out of the park. And I think it's just an avenue for people, musicians, artists of all kinds, to sort of showcase themselves and say like, it's like, I think my TikTok page is a better acting reel than any demo reel I could ever put together of me doing guest stars on TV shows and stuff. Like, all my actual acting reel is me with celebrities. Is like, ooh, look at me acting next to this celebrity. But I'm like, if you really want to see what I look like on camera, go watch my TikTok page. Like, that's what I look like on camera. That's me doing my thing. That's my style of humor. That's my style of of acting that I think that's what makes me interesting in a project. So if you want to cast me in your TV show or movie, like watch my TikTok. That's what I'll do, you know? So I'm hoping that it generates more work in that direction.
For sure. It's like you're honing your skills. And then, you know, everything that you do on your own, you could pretty much prove it to somebody. If someone is asking for proof about what you can do, you can be like, hey, just watch my TikTok. You know, I feel like such an old fart for almost being resistant to TikTok. And it's like, it's because maybe I don't want to be sucked in as a consumer, as somebody who likes to create. I feel like it happens to me on Instagram, and I've been stuck on Instagram just because, you know, it's what I know. But I know TikTok is here, and it's not going away anytime soon. But I don't know if you can prove me if I'm wrong too, or tell me if I'm wrong. Setting this podcast where I feel like my audience is a little bit of the older generations, is it worth it for me to get on TikTok? And we could talk about this off camera too, because if you have tips for me, I'd love to hear them.
I might be biased, but yeah, like it's just to me, my opinion of TikTok is it's kind of the top of the funnel. You know, the internet's a funnel where like everything's coming from somewhere. Like everything's like all the memes are being shared. Like a lot of times, like memes start on Imgur or Reddit, and then they get bounced around on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and they go through that funnel. I think for videos and the style of humor that we're seeing, or the style of like trends, things that people are talking about in the zeitgeist, the top of the funnel right now is TikTok. And it's not just, me saying it makes it sound like it's this kind of vapid, you know, trend machine that's all about just what's the latest trending dance or the latest trending song. But there's so much more to TikTok than just that. There are people who are building all kinds of little niches for what they do, and they have their own little TV show on TikTok. And I think you probably have a good amount of established content from this podcast that it would be pretty easy for you to just cut up clips of like 1 minute or to 2 minutes or 3 minutes of this podcast and just throw a clip up every single day. And eventually, I think the way that TikTok works, it's built for discoverability. I think it would only build your audience base. I think you want to have, in today's internet content creation game, a foothold on at least 3 or 4 platforms. Like you want to have somewhat of a foothold on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and probably TikTok as well. It just helps to up the, you know, circulation of your stuff. And you probably have a big backlog of content that you could throw up there. So,
all right. I mean, you know, what I heard there was you telling me not to be lazy. But yeah, it's definitely something I'm working on. But thank you for the push. I know it's something that I like. Wish I could just focus on Instagram and YouTube and focus on that. But I know I have to get with it, or else I'm going to get left behind kind of feeling, you know?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, I don't want to spend too much time on the first question. Let's move on to some warm-up questions real quick.
Right.
My first warm-up question for you is, what do you want the audience to know about you? I know you've mentioned some few things, but is there anything else you'd like them to know about you before we start getting into more questions?
I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. Can I swear on your show?
Absolutely. Don't censor yourself. Don't censor yourself.
You know, this year's been weird because I've done a lot of these shows. I've done a lot of podcasts where I'm answering questions like this. And I feel like I hear myself talking sometimes and I sound like one of those, like a finance bro or someone who's like, this is what you got to do with your life. And this is how you maximize your earnings. And I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. I got lucky and I found a little bit of an opening on TikTok and I hit it hard. And I, in the last year, you know, I've grown up to about just under 1 million followers on TikTok. But like, anytime a video of mine goes viral, I don't know why. And anytime a video flops, I don't know why. And every time a brand deal goes through and it works out, I don't know why. And every time it doesn't work out, I don't know why. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying stuff. And I'm just showing up. So if anyone's listening to this thinking this guy's so full of himself, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just trying my best.
I hear you, man. I hear you. I think everybody kind of like, no matter where we are, we're all just trying our best, whether we like to admit it or not. But you know, it takes some skill, man. I think a lot of, you know, what you're doing and the success that you've had so far has to come from, you know, your talent. You know, you have something there that's continuing to push, and you're creating with it. People are gravitating towards it. But so maybe you don't know what you're doing, but you got something that people don't have right now, at least, or haven't found it for themselves. And it's a beautiful thing to see, man. Like, for the folks out there, this is the first time we're talking. And in some ways, you're somebody I look up to, you know, in this whole realm. But yeah, so
I appreciate that. That's nice of you to say.
For sure, man, for sure. And especially, you know, you're continuing to do it with your true personality, which I think a lot of people can get caught up trying to play the game and change who they are just to fit the mold. You know.
Right before I jumped on this call, I was doing a live stream on TikTok, and the last question someone asked was, "What's your life philosophy?" And I just said, "Be yourself," because. And I think that's the way I approach my art. It's the way that I approach it's the way I've always approached stuff. I've never really been a person I'm no good at pretending to be anyone other than myself. But I think that is sort of the brand that I'm presenting. If I'm presenting any brand, is like, it's just me. And I kind of think that people get a lot with trying to be something that they think the audience wants. People go far with that. I think that what you're setting yourself up for, if that's the route you're going to go, is you're going to get so burnt out on that so quick, because that's a hard act to hold up. If your whole shtick is that you're pretending to be someone that you're not, and you're getting popular for it, good luck doing that for the rest of your life, and like trying to mold yourself into this thing, this persona that you created. I think you'd rather succeed or fail as yourself than anyone else. So yeah, I'm glad that I'm always happy when people tell me, who are watching my content, that they feel like I'm coming across as genuine, because I'm like, well, that's good, because that's sort of my underlying philosophy of what I do, is like, I gotta just come at it from a perspective of like what feels right to me and what feels true to me, for better or worse, you know?
Dope, man. Yeah. And that's definitely something I work with students at a high school right now. And yeah, man, I'm trying to create a program where they can feel like, because, you know, they're very heavily influenced with the TikTok and streaming, Twitch. And I want to help push them, whoever's thinking about it, to just do it, right? Like, I feel they're holding themselves back because they don't know the character, who they are in the first place. And right now they're more concerned about what character they can be for other people. But like you said, it's all about just being yourself. Like, the brand is you, if you can be honest with yourself and know who you are. But yeah, let me jump into the second question, because we're gonna continue it on. If I were to do something in your honor, a way to express the energy that you bring, what could I do?
I love that question. That's such a cool way to phrase a question. I think that I just said it. Like, I think that the best thing that I want from people who are doing this work, and who are trying to be creators or trying to build an audience, trying to make content that is meaningful and that is adding something of value to the world, is like, please, for the love of God, be honest. Please, for the love of God, be yourself. Like, be genuine. We need to see you. We don't need to see your interpretation of what you think we're looking for to see. So like, the best way that any person who's doing this could honor me is to like give me the best version of what they do, or what they think is special about them, what they think is unique about them. And, you know, I think also figuring that out is a process. Like, people sometimes are like, I don't really know. I don't know what makes me special. I don't really know what's interesting about me. And sometimes it's a process of like figuring out what it is about me in a space where I'm trying to garner an audience or something that is interesting to look at, to listen to, what it is about my perspective. anybody who phrases a question like that, what could I do to honor you? That's an interesting person. Like I'm, so already I'm like, yeah, you already seem like you're doing it. You're coming at this whole thing from a very genuine perspective.
Appreciate that, man. I try to do it too, man. I think this podcast, I've only been doing it for less than a year. It's almost going to be a year soon. But the biggest thing for me was like, I was really trying to figure out what my place was in life. I guess through quarantine and Corona, it was like, I don't want to be working for somebody forever. And I had that time during quarantine to do a bunch of my old hobbies as a kid. Like every month it felt like I was doing something I would do as a kid. And what it led up to kind of for me was that I know that I just love having good conversations with people. I think that has to do a little bit, I grew up an only child, so like everybody to me was like a stranger, and just getting to know their story was something I did when I was young, and something I could bring into adulthood, where I have these conversations with you and all the other folks that have been guests, and it's been really fulfilling. And I hope everybody out there can kind of find that for themselves as well.
That's exactly how I feel about doing a pod. I just celebrated 2 years with my show and my podcast, and I started it because for that exact reason. I was like, I just like talking to people. And my friend who's my audio engineer who mixes and masters my show, he would always ask me, but what's special about your show? What about your show makes it different from the other shows? And my answer to him was always like, me. Because like that's it. Like my show is just a podcast. There's a million podcasts of people just talking to each other. I'm not gonna reinvent the wheel on how to do a podcast. I'm not gonna come up with a concept that's like so revolutionary. The only thing that makes a difference is it's just me. So if people like listening to me and the way that I work through things, then they might like my show. And if they don't like the way that I work through things, then like that's fine. That there's a million other podcasts they can listen to. And
for sure.
Yeah.
No, I got you. Congratulations on your 2 years, man.
Thanks.
So for your podcast, let me ask you about that. What's kind of like the theme of it? Are you just interviewing folks too, like I am? Or?
Different people every episode, and usually there's a topic. Every episode is like, this is what we're talking about. It's a super title, and the episode is like, we're talking about the police. We're going to talk about the institution of the police. We're going to talk about critical race theory. We're going to talk about gender. We're going to talk about brains. We're going to talk about dreams. We're going to talk, and then I just have a person on who I've either found on social media or who I know personally, who I know works in that space or has good information on that space, or who I know is just passionate about that topic. And we just sort of get into it and we just, talk about that thing. So yeah. For
sure. Yeah. I have friends too who always ask me what's special about my podcast and how I can make it a little more, I guess I don't have titles yet for my episodes either. It's just you, I'll put your name out there because that's all I want people to know about you until they actually listen to the podcast. But yeah, I guess I'm still trying to figure out my strategies and everything, but all I know is that I'm doing what feels right. And sometimes I'll do something that feels right, and then as soon as I do it for that episode, I'm like, oh, that was totally off, and I don't continue on doing it. But yeah, it's just that learning process.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you about was, we were talking about being real and being true. In your experience, in like right now, how much percentage would you say the world is being real versus being, I wouldn't say fake, but trying to be a character for other people?
Oh, geez, that's tough, I think a lot of people are consuming content and media from people who aren't being real. I think the majority of people in the world are consumers and are consuming the stuff that's being put out, myself included. I'm a consumer. And I think that, and the proof is just in the numbers. I think that just like the less genuine and the more sort of generalized and easily consumable and inoffensive and uncontroversial a piece of media or content is, the more likely it is to have a wider appeal and more people will consume it. But like, yeah, I don't know. Like, that's a really hard question, because I think that, like, what I see in my corner of the internet is a lot of people who are really, really invested in trying to be genuine and trying to be real. Like, I'm in recovery. I'm 3.5 years sober, and like, I deal with people who are, their goal of their life is to get real, because one of the biggest problems that we had is that we couldn't be honest with people. That we like, I used to lie about everything. I used to lie about like things that just didn't need to be lied about. I would just sort of like exaggerate stupid numbers, like just, talking to someone about like, how many cookies did you eat yesterday? And I ate 4, and I would say like, I ate 2, and it's like, why not just say 4? What do you like? What is the, and I would just, everything was a lie. And so I think that, and I was always striving for honesty. I always like really, really believed in honesty, but I just sort of was incapable of it. And so now I like almost am too honest, but I think there are a lot of people who want authenticity and something that's genuine. It's also a question of intelligence, because I also think that there's a lot of people who like what's true to them and what's genuine to them is being a white supremacist. And I think that is like a matter of social intelligence, where like you haven't opened yourself up to, you haven't been willing to criticize the ways that you were raised enough to sort of break that cycle within yourself and deprogram that. So you're not being like disingenuous when you're being racist or white supremacist. Like, that's who you are, but you are being like kind of stupid, and you're not being galaxy brain enough about it. You're not thinking big enough about it. You're not being critical enough about it. So I think a lot of these consumers are more or less living genuine lives, but they're consuming a lot of content from people who are not producing genuine content. A lot of going into the white supremacist thing, it's like, one of the biggest criticisms that people on the political right in America have of the left is that we believe everything we read in the news and stuff, but like, they get all of their information from these very sensationalized bad news sources, from people who are liars. Like, and we have proof. We're like, hey, this person's lying to you. This person doesn't like you. We have text messages where this person is like lying. They're saying this, and then they're coming on TV and telling you this. And so I think that people striving to be genuine, consuming content from people who are lying, kind of muddies the waters of this question. I think the majority of people are striving for honesty and authenticity. And there is a minority of people in a position of power who have media outlets and who have the ability to get people's ear, who are knowingly being disingenuous, who are lying and pumping people full of bad information and stuff. And then there's like pop stars and, people like the Paul brothers and stuff like that on YouTube, who, I don't know if they're knowingly being disingenuous. I think that they're just sort of like not smart enough to actually be a real person. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
does that answer the question?
It does. It made me realize a lot of things. And, one of the things that crossed my mind was like, in that question, it really should be like, who are they in front of? When they're being disingenuous versus, trying to play a character. Sometimes, but that's also another, like, there's another layer to that. Like, who are we really real with? Is it our friends? Is it our family? Is it, because sometimes that people can be playing a character for those groups of people as well. But yeah, I mean, I think the energy, I've been trying to put it out there, because I've lied too. I don't know, have you seen that movie 8-Bit Christmas? Not a plug or anything, but I don't know if you've seen it or not. No?
I haven't seen it, but I know of it. It's on HBO Max, right?
Yeah. So there's like this whole thing. If you haven't seen it, they go through like different types of like kids when they're young, and one of the kids was like the pathological liar lie about everything. Like, I know this. And I would admit this. I was one of those kids back in the day. I used to tell my kids like, tell my friends like, oh, I went to space camp, even though I didn't, or I did something to impress them. And I can't. I've never asked them, and I want to. If you're out there and you're listening, I want to ask you what you thought after I said these lies. Like, did you believe me, or did you just be like, man, here he goes again talking this shit? But yeah, so I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I kind of lost my point going to that story.
No, I think that people relate to that. I think a lot of people have stories where they're like, I don't know why I lied about that thing. And I think authenticity and honesty is, like I said, it's something a lot of people want. And if you ask them, like, do you care about authenticity or honesty? I bet if you did a poll and asked people how important is authenticity and honesty to you, that you'd get like 90% back saying very important. But like when it actually comes to what does that look like in your life? How do you practice being an honest person and all that? Like, it gets complicated because people lie for different reasons. Sometimes you omit truths to spare feelings and stuff like that. And there's different kinds of, and then you get used to justifying different kinds of half truths or partial truths for different, you can tell yourself stories about things. And so the actual practice of being like a genuine person is difficult,
For sure.
Yeah.
I've always like admired people who can tell the truth, even though it's probably not the best thing to say, or like people who don't spare feelings. Because I am a nice guy and I try to spare feelings as much as I can. So when I see folks who are able to tell it how it is and still get like where the hurt feelings don't matter as much, and that person actually appreciates the honesty, that's something I've been working on. I'm trying to get to that level of not caring, but also like showing that this is how I care, is by telling you how it is, or like you got a booger in your nose, shit like that. But all right, man. Well, let's jump into this last question of the warm up, and it is, on a scale from 1 to 10, how well do you know yourself?
I'm getting to know myself better day by day. I think that 3-4 years ago, it's like a 5, like a 5, maybe 6. I think these days I'm hovering around like an 8.5. I'm getting up there.
How would you, what kind of growth did you have to get from like a 5 to 8.5?
Well, like I said, I got sober, and I had to look at what were the reasons why I was drinking and using drugs the way I was using them. I had to sort of look at that and go like, okay, what's going on here? It's not just because I have maybe an allergy to alcohol and it makes it so that I can't only have one drink. I have to have 15. But really looking at like, what's going on there? Like, why am I trying so hard to numb myself out so regularly? And then reevaluating, like, what do I value in life? Like, what's important to me? And figuring out how to become the kind of person that I like and that I think is a worthwhile person. Because when I was drinking and using, I like really didn't like myself. And that's a hard space to be in, where you like really don't have a good regard for yourself. You just really like kind of think you're a piece of shit. And when people would say like, yeah, you need to learn to love yourself, I'd be like, yo, you don't know me. Like, I'm a bad guy. So like, I don't like, I'm a loser. I'm a failure. And I think getting outside of sort of that shame spiral and self-hatred spiral, and starting to do esteemable acts, and starting to invest my time in like acts of service, and trying to be just really trying to have a goal every day of like being a better person, like actually trying to live a life where like my intention every day is to like help people if I can, to listen better, to be more accountable for my words and for my actions, to take responsibility when I've done something wrong, to be honest with people about the way that I'm feeling, to communicate directly with people. It's really just daily efforts to like one day at a time be a better person. And I still am I still fuck up all the time, and I still don't do any of it perfectly. But yeah, it's sort of a process of like what I've learned over the last 3.5 years, 3.5, 4 years is that the work of becoming a mentally healthier person, a person who likes themselves, a person who feels like they have exciting things in their lives and stuff like that, it's not a quick fix. It's not a pill. It's not a few sessions with a therapist and I'm good. It's daily work. It's just like daily uncovering new layers of depth and truth, and being willing to show up for that work, and being willing to be patient with it, and know that it's not all going to just come at once, and that it's not and that it's going to be frustrating at times, because I want faster results, and I want to have even more self-knowledge, and I want to be even more enlightened, you know?
Yeah.
But just doing little things, like daily little things.
I got you, man. You know, the reason why I chuckled there was, a long time in my life, especially in my 20s, I kept telling myself, oh, one day there's going to be this switch that just flips. And, I'm going to be able to have better discipline. I'm going to be more motivated to follow my passion and dreams. But I think you're right, man. I don't think I'm out of the woods yet. It's one of those daily things where every day is kind of a struggle. I'm not sober myself. Right now I'm sober, but I'm just saying, like, I still struggle with that too. And am I fooling myself to tell, I've been going by this motto of, like, everything in balance, Would you say I'm fooling myself, or can
I can't say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like that's completely up to you. But I definitely know that I was trying to find that. I was like, I just need to like calm down here. I just need to like get to a place where like I'm a little bit more balanced. I have more of a work and social life balance where like I'm still drinking, but I'm not drinking as like I thought that when I turned 30, things would calm down. I was like, I'm gonna calm down, and it just, like anytime I tried to tone down my drinking and my drug use, it was almost like there was a backlash effect where I would start using more, because I'd be like, oh no, like I've slowed down or something, so I don't, I definitely have met people who are capable of finding the kind of balance that you're talking about, and the kind of moderation and self-control that you're talking about. And so I'm like, hey, if you can find that, if you can genuinely look at your life and say like, this is manageable. I'm managing this. I am finding the right times to indulge in a few extra drinks because I'm at a friend's wedding and it's a nice event and I don't have anything to do tomorrow, and me and my friends are going to share a toast together, and I'm going to have maybe a few more drinks than I would normally have because these are the rare nights that I'm going to, like, if you can do that, if you can and live life that way and have it not be something that is affecting you negatively, then I say, go get it. I miss the hell out of booze a lot of times, especially when I'm with friends at special times like that, when I'm like, I would love to just like share a bottle of whiskey with my buddies right now and at this moment, but my personal problem was I just couldn't get it together. I just couldn't drink responsibly. And every time I drank, I just did really, really irresponsible things. And I just, at a certain point, it was just not manageable,
I got you. Yeah. First, thank you for sharing that, like sharing that side of your story. I think it's something hard that people who try to find that discipline, or, try to sober up. I mean, I know the struggle, so it's pretty crazy. But my dad, he was one of those guys who had to get sober at a certain point in my life, and it was just crazy to see him kind of go through it, and also see how it affected his life. But I know it can be done, and I think it's just one of the, wish me luck, man. I'm trying to figure it out.
I got you. Yeah, you got all my luck, and I'm, if you ever need someone to talk about it outside the podcast, reach out. I'm happy to talk about it. Yeah.
Will do. I appreciate that. Well, just a little heads up, man. We have about 20 minutes left in the pod.
All right.
I hope you're enjoying yourself. I think it's been a great conversation so far, but it's time we turn to the Wheel of Fate.
Let's do it.
Let's give it a spin. So what I'm going to do is write down all the numbers that the points of the wheel go to. So we
32.
Got 32. 2. I'm going to give that 7, 24, 28, 18, and 20. 11. So obviously we're not going to get through all these questions right now.
Yeah, all right.
But this is just if you happen to give me one sentence answers, then we have.
I'll do a speed round. I'm gonna go speed round style.
We'll try because I'm always gonna have some follow-up questions. But here we go. I can't even read my writing. I'm gonna have to turn to the Wheel of Fate again. 32. 32. And would you like to go easy, medium, or hard? Let me ask you that.
Medium.
32 is what's been on your mind lately?
I'll tell you what, I saw a movie last night that blew my mind. It's a movie by Adam McKay called Don't Look Up, and it's got Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence and Meryl Streep and Jonah Hill. I thought it was maybe the best movie I've seen in several years, and it's getting bad reviews from critics, and it's kind of perfect that it is, because it's like satirizing these people who are giving it bad reviews. I'm like, this movie's about you. But like, it's about, I mean, so this has been on my mind just the last couple of days of like, what are we doing as a species? Because for the last several decades, scientists have been telling us that with almost 100% certainty that our planet is dying, and that is happening, and that there is scientific consensus on it. And we have just been dancing around this problem now for decades. We've just been dancing, just kind of passing the ball back and forth bureaucratically in politics, and doing little kind of cosmetic fixes and being like, let's not use plastic straws and stuff. But it's like, on a big level, we're not fixing the problem. And every day that we don't, we get closer and closer to it being an unfixable problem. And so I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about how I
got you.
Yeah.
I gotta watch that movie. I heard about it, and I actually heard I don't know if it was, did you post that on Instagram?
I posted about it, yeah.
Okay, it must have been what I must have read your review about it, and because you
I've been talking about it.
Yeah. Well, so I'm trying to simplify this when I know it's not that simple. But I do feel like you got that ultra rich, I'm not going to call them the Illuminati, but you got folks out there pulling the strings, trying to, I guess we don't know. These are hypotheticals. But it feels that way. I don't know. Do you think that?
What we do know is, whether there's secret cabals or secret societies, I don't know. But what we do know is that the people who actually have the resources to do what's necessary to turn the tide and to convert all of our energy to clean, sustainable energy, and to really, I mean, it's going to take a massive overhaul of global industry. Like, several global industries are going to have to be completely overhauled in the way that they do everything that they do. And that's very, very difficult. But the people who are actually capable of overseeing that and making sure that that happens, however painful of a process it is, however many people need to be fired or retrained to do their jobs in new ways, however many factories need to be leveled and rebuilt from the ground up, whatever it takes, those people aren't doing it. And they're not doing it seemingly for capitalistic reasons, where they're just sort of like, this is the best way for us to keep making money at the clip we're making. And it seems kind of like they're just getting theirs while they're alive and saying, fuck you to the future. And so I don't know if it's secret organizations, but it definitely seems like there are people with power and authority an ability to do something about this, and every day they choose not to, and it prolongs the problem. Yeah,
super frustrating, man. I think I don't get angry much, but I mean, it's funny because I think about if I was in that position, would I be doing all the right things to turn the tide? And it's easy to say that when I'm not in that position, or in that world.
Or would I be just going to space? I'm just gonna go to space. Okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah, man. And it's funny, Bezos came out of nowhere, or he didn't come out of nowhere, but he took over the whole conversation of, who's on top out of nowhere.
Well, it's like Bill Gates. Bill Gates has kind of made climate change his whole thing, but I'm like, all right, well, how about you guys? How about you and Bezos and Zuckerberg and Musk? How about you guys just do it? How about you guys just take care of it? Just fucking do it. Just pay for whatever it's gonna cost and make it happen. But like, they can't personally stomach taking the personal loss. But I'm like, why the fuck not? You will be immortalized as the saviors of mankind. Fucking do it. Like be legendary heroes, and take this task on. Like, your egos, surely that's appealing to your egos. The idea that you could be
immortalized,
legendary, immortal heroes, and instead they're just like, nah, I just want to be rich. And it's like, all right, well.
I hear you, man. I hear you. If I could talk to them, hope you guys get on the podcast one day. We'll see what you got to say about it. All right, well, let's jump into number 2, and 2 medium still. Okay. So in the same kind of realm, what do you think society should prioritize to fix in the world?
Climate change.
Climate change.
I think that it intersects with pretty much everything. Like, you can't talk about climate change without talking about racial justice and social justice. Climate change, like the climate, and it's all woven in. Like, we put disenfranchised and marginalized communities in places with worse pollution and stuff like that. It's all tied together. But of all the issues that we have, different groups vying for more equity, for more visibility, for more representation, the workforce rising up and demanding better accommodations in the workplace and better pay, easier access to affordable healthcare. None of it fucking matters if the planet dies in 30 to 50 years. Doesn't matter. And so it just all seems so petty in the face of the fact that that we've got hard scientific data that's just like, guys, it's not good. That.
Gotcha. I mean, I think the kids these days are hip to the game and are probably trying to figure it out a lot more than older folks, because they're not going to be around, so why should they care? Number 7, still medium. We could just keep it all medium.
Medium. I like the medium.
All right. This one is, if your life stages were broken into books, what would they be called? So you could give me an age range, and that's that book. Another age range, that's the next book. However you want to break it up.
Okay. So like 0 to 18 would be called the golden boy, or the golden years. I'm like this young Mormon kid in Utah, and I'm doing everything right. I'm going to church every week, and I believe in this thing, and it's like my whole life. And then 18 to 30 would be, I don't know, the fall. I fall from grace. I depart from the blueprint. I lose my faith in God and in everything, and I get super involved in party culture, and I had a good time. I did some fun drugs, and I got to be pretty promiscuous, and I had a good time. But I also got really, really depressed, and kind of wasn't really on track to I wasn't really about the business that I'm supposed to be about. Like, I wasn't getting on the path that I'm supposed to be on and then after 30 and to now, I'm turning 34 next month. I would say that like the rebuild or like the regrowth, the rebirth, it's like coming back to life, and it's like back to like it's my 30s have been so far like my chance to be the kind of person that I was trying to be in my 20s, So yeah.
Got you. Very similar to my story, I would say.
Yeah.
Let's do number 24 medium. We're
Do
doing
it hard, this one. Let's go 24 hard.
24 hard.
Yeah.
Here we go. What is your mission in your life? What is your mission?
Oh man. If I'm being completely honest, if the goal is honesty, I don't know if I'm gonna have kids. I don't know if I'm gonna have children. And I think humans instinctively, for some reason, want to leave something behind. So a lot of people, it's their kids. They're like, that's what I'm going to leave behind. My legacy is going to be this progeny that I created. And like, they're going to kind of carry the lessons that I taught them that were taught to me. And I'm going to sort of help them. So I don't know if I'm ever going to have kids, which means that my progeny, what I'm giving to the world, what I'm hoping to put in the world, I just want to create something that I'm remembered for. I want to create something that lasts. I want to create some work that outlives me. I want to, and I don't, and it is like, it's all for self-serving ego reasons. Like same with having children. It's all because we want some part of us to live on after we're dead, but I try to view this process as like, I want to leave something of value, something that can be looked at and talked about and learned from and pondered on and thought about, like, I don't want to just like leave some legacy where they're like, this is the guy that made, just like some viral video that I made on TikTok or something that's just like I made a song called Turtleneck and Blazers. It's like, that would suck if it was that. But I would like it to be something that like feels meaningful and useful,
For sure, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that too. I think that's such a real thing that a lot of folks this generation is going through. For me, I keep I feel like I'm putting it off. Like, I know there's a part of me that wants to have a kid and also think about like, I don't know if you see the sign behind me. It says let go of ego. And I'm trying to like try to keep my ego outside of raising the kid. And a part of me feels like if it happens, then I would tell myself, well, there goes everything that I want to do for myself. Like I'm not gonna be doing the podcast. I'm not gonna be pursuing to get on the screen and everything. And I almost feel like it's pretty selfish of me to feel like I couldn't do that without, if I had it. Because some folks who are doing their thing and had kids early, they're like, sometimes that's the thing that pushes you forward or motivates you more. But for me personally, knowing myself, it's not that. That's me telling myself it's time to put things down, and your life is not about you anymore. That it is for me like a scary thing, to be real. So I'm gonna knock on wood because I don't know where life is gonna take me, but it is, if I do, I know it's not now and it might not be for a while because I still got a lot of work to do,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
see how it goes. Well, all right, we could leave it at that hard question. I think that was a great way to end that. And we will jump into let me see, I hope this works. And it didn't work. Let me get you on here real quick. But it's called the 34th mantra. And I don't know if you can see what's below on the bottom, but it says, I am, I can, and I will. I basically want this video to be for yourself. You are talking to yourself. And I want you to finish the phrase, I am blank, I can blank, I will blank. How would you fill that in for yourself?
I am enough. I can live an abundant life, I will live an abundant and fulfilling and meaningful life.
Oh, man. Thank you for participating. And if you ever need a reminder, now you got that little soundbite of you talking to yourself, you know, of who you are and what you're going to do. All right. Let's
That's
jump.
special.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, it's always weird. I don't know how people take it because it's uncomfortable looking in the mirror. And thank you for sharing with me, you know. Here we go with our closeout questions. My first closeout question for you is going to be from Ill Al, from my previous guest.
All right.
Al, it's a two-parter. The first one is, what makes you special?
My mustache. I don't know. Yeah, I think the fact that I come from a community where there is a very like specific blueprint of how to do life, and the vast majority of my friends that I grew up with and people that I grew up with followed the blueprint, and I just very, very much so did not. And like a lot of people that I meet who are similar minded as me, or like who are in the same space as me, like they grew up around other artists or around like liberal people, and like I had to kind of go out and like get this life on my own, because it's not what all my friends were doing, and it's not what, you know. And so I think that that's what makes me special, is that like I really had to kind of fight for this identity. I had, you know, and I think that you see that with, you know, people in the LGBTQIA plus community. I relate to the queer community a lot because of that. I know that it's not the same thing. I'm not being persecuted for my identity in any way, but I relate to that feeling of like, I had to leave the norm of my social construct that I was raised in and sort of like fight for my identity and say like, this is actually who I am and who I would prefer to be in the world, even while people are looking at me going, what the hell are you doing? Like you have so much potential, kid, you're ruining it. So I think that I had to, that's something that makes me special.
I got you, man. And his follow-up question was, how does it feel to know you are extremely loved?
Feels safe, feels peaceful, feels serene. I know that there's people in my life who are with me for the long haul. And, you know, I have a lot of certainty in that, and it just feels really secure.
For sure.
Yeah.
My second to last question for you is, what would you like to ask the next guest that comes on to 34 Questions?
Okay. What's stopping you?
Gotcha. All right. I'm always curious, like, you know, I have guests who plan to come on, but then things always switch up. But curious who's gonna get that one.
Yeah.
All right. And my last question for you, the question that ties everything together, you know, what would you like your descendants to know about you? You know, few generations down the road, they're watching this video, getting to know you. What would you like to tell them?
Wouldn't it be crazy if somebody related to me found this? Because if the future is like as advanced as we think it could be, if we survive, surely they can just have archives of just, you look up your lineage and you just get to watch. That's the craziest thing, is like, can you imagine if our ancestors 2 or 3 or 4 generations back had a YouTube channel and we could watch their YouTube channel? Like, so crazy. So if there is, oh, what a mind trip too, for them to be watching this. They're watching this, let's say 100 years from now, they're watching this and they're going, he's talking about it right now. Like, he's talking, and I'm like looking at them going, I'm talking about you, the person watching this. I guess the thing I want you to know about me, if you don't already know it from watching this whole thing, is that like, this is how my brain works, is like, just the thought of you existing is crazy to me. And I'm just an endlessly curious person. And I love being curious. I love thinking about, are we in a simulation? Are we not? What could the universe potentially be composed of? And I also love not knowing the answers to those things. I love, maybe where you are, you have answers to these questions. Maybe you guys figured out that we are in a simulation and you all came to terms with it. You all went, whatever, there's nothing we can do about it. Like, maybe that's the point you're at. I don't know. But like, I think curiosity and critical thinking and being, a person who loves to learn new things, who's open to being wrong. I think that's the key. That's the juice. That's the secret sauce, is just like staying excited about the next chapter of the movie that is your life. Like you get to experience this show that lasts however long it lasts. And I don't know. Yeah. So
Sure.
God, I hope so bad that there's someone who's related to me who's watching this in the future. That'd be so cool.
I'm like that guy from Men's Warehouse. I can almost guarantee that's gonna happen. Yeah, man. I'm glad that you were able to kind of make that connection in your mind, because this is exactly what it's all about. Trying to figure out who I was and the kind of person I am. I didn't grow up with my grandparents, so I never got to know them. And I always wondered, did they like talking to people? Were they like in any way like me? Trying to find that connection. And since I never got it, this is just the perfect way for me to help people make that connection for their descendants, one day. So if you're watching, now you know.
This is so awesome. This is a really cool show. I like this show a lot.
Thank you, man. It means a lot. It means a lot.
Yeah.
It's funny, you might, if you do watch some of the episodes, maybe you'll see somebody that that hasn't happened yet, but I'm hoping that people eventually kind of see like, oh shit, we're kind of connecting this 6 degrees of separation type thing. But yeah, so thank you for those kind words, man. Any last things you'd like to add before we head out of here? Like, can you name drop your podcast again? And
yeah, sure.
The handle, if people didn't get it
Plugs.
yet.
I'm gonna plug some stuff. My podcast is called People Pleaser with Austin Archer. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Podcasts. It's not on YouTube. I don't film it. I should film it. But yeah, People Pleaser with Austin Archer. You can follow me on TikTok, Twitter, or Instagram at yourpal_Austin. And then I'm also on YouTube as just Austin Archer. A lot of my content goes up on YouTube as well. Music videos on YouTube and songs and stuff like that. Yeah, Austin Archer on Apple Music and Spotify. Just listen to my music if you want. I'm on Cameo. You want to get a cameo from me? I'm on Cameo. All right. Okay.
That's big time right there.
Yeah.
For sure, man. I want to thank you again for stopping by. And great conversation, man. Hopefully, maybe a year or two from now, I could touch base with you. Maybe get you back on for round 2, just to see how things are going, how things are progressing. I want to thank all the folks out there. If you watch it on YouTube or listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, appreciate your time as well. Remember to reach out, reach forward. As always, much love, and we'll catch you guys next time on 34 Questions. Peace.